It's the Brad and John Show.
It is the Brad and John Show. This is the C block, the Charlie block. Today's date is May 2nd. And on May 2nd, on May 1st, we say Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. And on May 2nd, we say Pan, Pan, Pan. Do you know what Pan, Pan, Pan is?
No, I don't. What does that mean?
Pan, Pan, Pan is the level below Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. If you have a situation where you are in an emergency, you declare emergency Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. If you have a situation which is not necessarily immediately life-threatening, but could be a factor in the safe navigation of your airplane, you issue a Pan, Pan, Pan. So in other words, if you would have something that would be out of the ordinary, if your instruments went dead or something like that, you would issue a Pan, Pan, Pan. And if it got to the point where you were having trouble controlling the plane, then you would raise that to a Mayday, 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 which would be declaring an emergency. See, aren't you glad I teach all these good things?
I am. Next time Jason Rosenbaum is at a public event and he's looking for a guy wearing a pink vest and can't find him, I'll tell him to call me and I'll just say, Pan, Pan, Pan. Oh, there he is. There's an old guy wearing a pink safety vest for no good reason. It's like, where's Waldo? Why is there a random guy standing in the background of a ribbon cutting? Oh, that's Brad Hildebrand.
Bing, bing, bong, bing. Bing, bing, bong, bong, bing, bing.
That's what I say when I'm standing in the background like that. You know, we have all sorts of things I never play anymore, like this one.
Say LeBron James changed his gender. You know what I mean? Okay. Can he stay in the NBA? Or, because he's a woman, does he have to go to the WNBA where he will score 840 points a game?
See, to me, that's the irony of the whole thing. And Trump even said that at one point in time. He said, I'm going to buy a WNBA team, and I'm going to fire all the women. I'm going to hire a bunch of these guys who college stars who couldn't make it into the NBA, and a bunch of old guys in the NBA, and I win every game, and I win the championship, which is exactly what would happen. Okay. Right, John?
I hope you don't play that clip on Westplex 107.1 because, you know, that's the first station targeted to women of the Westplex. Fellas, we know you're listening too. We promise not to tell anyone. You know my favorite thing about Westplex 107.1 promos when I listen to them, Brad?
What's that?
The woman's voice says, we're the new station for the Westplex.
Yes.
And it was launched in 2018.
Right.
So in 2025, we're still the new station for the Westplex.
That's right, because of the fact that we're still the new station.
There we go, Brad.
Right.
You know, that woman sounds just like Shelley Barr.
It's not, though. It's Karen.
I know it's not, but it always sounds like – every time I hear it, it reminds me of Shelley.
Okay. I will not say who this is from, but I just see a text here. Ask John if it is the fault of the Missouri representatives and senators are the people that are mentoring them that have been around the Capitol for years.
What is F, John? I'm sorry, I missed that.
No, ask John if it is the fault of the Missouri representatives and senators are the people that are being mentored them that are being around the Capitol for years.
Is what the fault?
I don't know. I'm just reading what it sent me. You know, I don't know what to say. Okay.
Okay, so I think what they're saying is the culture the people that are elected, or is it the people that have been around the Capitol for a long time?
But see, it's my point. It's my point exactly. You indoctrinate these people. This is how you do it. This is how you do it. You don't do it any other way. And see,
yeah, they go full Montel Jordan on.
To a certain extent, and I'm going to shock you when I tell you this, to a certain extent, I appreciate the AOCs and the Ilana Ilmar, whatever how her name was, even the Cori Bushes. Matter of fact, I heard Dr. Bob Onder make a comment that Cori Bush would not talk to the Republican representatives. You ever heard this story?
You've mentioned that before,
Yeah,
Brad.
he said that.
And if that's actually true, that's
what
really
he said.
disappointing.
That's what he said. He said she wouldn't talk to the Republican, which to me is so sad. That's almost like a radio guy complimenting or promoting another radio guy and have them, why did you mention us? Why did you talk about us? Why did you put our sales page on your Facebook page? What are you trying to do? Help us? You can't do that. You know what I'm saying, John?
I think one of my favorite segments that we've done in a long time is yesterday when you and I were talking about KBDZ and we're talking about your truly good deed, and you get a message from a guy that starts to question you. Then you have a phone call with him and he praises you. And then you get a message from him criticizing you.
I don't get it.
And we can't figure out if it's Brad's early onset dementia or if the other guy has multiple personalities. I feel like I'm in an Edgar Allan Poe story here? Because, Brad, sometimes you're not the most reliable narrator. Like, let's be honest, sometimes you get names wrong and facts and stories. But I also feel like the other character might be unreliable as well.
Well, Jim, I've never misidentified you before in the past.
It sure is good to be here on Real Talk 93.3.
Yes. Or are you John? Are you David Wassinger? Tell me which one.
No, I'm Dan Strauss.
Dan Strauss.
I got a bunch of hockey stuff. Don't come steal it from the storage locker.
No, his wife, as he pulled in the driveway, his wife is spraying lighter fluid on his hockey stuff because she's about ready to burn it because she's tired of him playing hockey all the time. No, John. See, I think when you have people, see, I'm a disruptor kind of guy. You know,
I give your disruptor speech, Brad. Let's talk. Can you work in Elon Musk and others into the story?
Well, Elon Musk is a disruptor, as is Thomas Edison, as is Henry Ford, as is all these other different names. And the problem you get into is, let's be honest, 95% of the population, once upon a time, I will tell the story. One of my very first program directors in the radio business, and we had meetings, too many meetings, and we had a meeting where he gave us the speech about our listeners are sheep, and we just have to herd them in the right direction. That our listeners really don't have any mind of their own. We have to tell them what they should be thinking. We have to tell them the songs they like. We have to tell them, and we herd them in the right direction.
And you took great umbrage at this because you found this to be radio industry arrogance, right?
Well, it's arrogance in any kind of thing. But the sad part of it is he's right. And it took me 51 years to realize that people are basically sheep. Most people, I can tell you a story about a subdivision I used to live in about to the point where I'm the guy that there was a crazy weird story how they were suing the builder. And I was the guy going like, you people are wasting your money. This guy, first off, this is a bizarre, weird story, crazy weird story, as John would say, where I'm the guy saying, look, and it got to the point where they were suing the builder and they were giving us an additional assessment every year to pay for the attorneys, which I objected to. And at one point in time, I said, I'm not paying the assessment anymore. And I got taken to court. Okay. The bottom line of the story is they never sued. It ultimately got to the point where they were suing the lender who went out of business. They were suing the builder who died and declared bankruptcy, and they still thought they were going to be able to get money. And one of the neighbor's people said to my wife at the time, your husband is getting in the way of our basement renovation because our attorney told us that when we win this case, we're each going to get $25,000. We've already had the contractor come in and give us an estimate on our basement. So where's your husband is doing
money he doesn't have. That's right. Great.
Your husband is getting in the way of our basement renovation. And I said to the very end, I said, you people are wackadoodle because you're not going to get a damn penny. And what happened, John? They didn't get a dang penny. And you were right about the lawyer fees, I bet, Brad. Right. And it was money. I would have felt better if I would have said to the neighborhood homeowners association, whatever, hey, I owe you $150. Here's 100 and a 10. I'm going to put it in my mailbox. I'm going to put some bottle rockets in there. Oh, before I put the 110, I'm going to soak it in gasoline. I'm going to put it in my mailbox. I'm going to fire the bottle rocket off, and we're going to watch my money burn. I'll have more satisfaction of having my $150 burn in the mailbox rather than give it to you. And once again, people are sheep. The people in the subdivision, because a couple of SDs, if you know what, and D is disturber.
Shoot disturbers, yeah.
Shoot disturbers. A couple of SDs, whoa, we're going to get money. And those people were viewed as the visionaries of the subdivision. And guess what, John? One of these
they were wrong about it.
One of these wonderful SDs decided he was going to make so much money from this lawsuit, he quit his job and worked full-time with the attorneys on this lawsuit. Went to Jefferson City.
Nice. Kind of a rainmaker for him. And then if he was smart, he could go to other subdivisions and get more contracts for these lawyers, right?
And the sad part of it is he got no money. He had no job. He got his house foreclosed on. And I was the guy who sat there and watched as his furniture got put on the front lawn, and I felt sorry for the guy. And I told him I felt sorry for him, and he got pissed at me. Because
Yeah. I bet he would find that really condescending. You were also picking through his ottomans and his nightstands, too, at the time. You forgot that part.
I could have stood on the front lawn of my house and yelled, "Na-na-na, boo-boo," but I didn't. Now, once again, he was a tremendous, upstanding citizen, and I won't tell you the story about not once, not twice, but thrice the police came and arrested his son for drug dealing, but that's a whole nother story. Okay, so...
Wow, well, at least you've released on it. At least you're not carrying it into the future. And what year was this that this happened, Brad?
1862.
Yeah, I believe it, right? It was at the beginning of the Civil War. The guy had great mutton chops, though.
You have to have mutton chops back then, John. John, I'm going to make sure I got a nice, clean copy of that. I'm going to go back and make a promo of this. Now, what did you say about me, about my accuracy of the names I talk about and the things I talk about? Give me that line again. What was that again now?
Was it 0.0? It's Brad's boomer math over there, Brad. Well, these are the type of things that I sure hope the lieutenant governor is spending his morning listening to us live. He's going to say, the transmission came in and out, but I think Brad said he was subjected to endocrine disruptors, and that's what's wrong with him. And I think everybody would agree. Hey, did you hear that you go to the Capitol and you get an injection? I mean, I think there's a lot of House members that would like to give some interns injections, but that's a different story. Can we go back to the question at the beginning? So to answer that question from a listener, Brad, thank you for the question to the listener. It's probably has to do with the nature of Jefferson City. And I'm not a person that blames lobbyists for a lot of stuff, Brad, or bureaucrats, but you go there and there's a lot of people who are willing to educate you on the way things work with the idea that you will have some goodwill toward them when they need a vote on some legislation or they need a little bit of budget money or things like that. And Brad, you make a great point that whether it's Washington, D.C. or Springfield, Illinois, or Topeka, Kansas, or Jefferson City, people go, they make a whole lot of promises, and then they get to know the department heads, they get to know some lobbyists, and they think, well, $100,000 here or $100,000 there, it's not a big deal in terms of state budget, so why don't we just give a little bit of money away?
There was a federal politician who used to say $1 million here, $1 million there. Pretty soon it adds up to some real money. Now this phrase should be $1 billion here and $1 billion there.
Yeah,
pretty soon
more like it, or
it adds up to some real money.
Well, enough about Zelensky, Brad.
Last thing this morning. At noon, I am going to the ribbon cutting for Castle. Are you familiar with Castle?
No, I've never heard of it.
And I can't remember the exact acronym. It's Center for Advanced State to Law Enforcement or something like that. It's the combined training center for St. Charles City and O'Fallon, who built this place out on 79 north of 70, and it's like this training facility for police officers. Do you know about this at all?
Yeah, no, but I thought the counties were involved in this too.
Well,
like, didn't Sam Page not want this built or something like that, or he could have had it in the county, but he didn't want it? What was the story?
This was an interesting thing where Steve Ellman is against this because what he was trying to do a deal with Sam Page where they were going to have a St. Charles County, St. Louis County facility, and apparently I think one of the people who will not be at this ribbon cutting this morning will be Steve Ellman because this is not what he wanted. And what they've done is St. Charles City and O'Fallon, Missouri came together and did this. And I believe ultimately they're going to open it up to other departments as well, too. But it's an advanced training facility. They're going to have what they call an EVOC course, which is, from what I understand, is a mile course. EVOC is an emergency vehicle operating command or something like that, where essentially they're training the guys for high-speed chases and the what do they call that? There's a term for that where they spin the cars around. You know what I'm talking about? The something maneuver, whatever. The
pit maneuver.
The pit maneuver. And what's interesting about it is they're also going to have, in the EVOC course, they're going to train the police officers to shoot from moving vehicles. And the interesting thing about that is the shooting range out there is not your traditional 25 or 50-yard shooting range. It's a 200-yard shooting range. So they're going to have some long-range shooting and stuff like that. So anyway, the ribbon cutting is supposed to be at noon today. Hopefully it won't rain. But
is your pink vest clean? Have you had it washed? And do you drip dry that, or do you put that in the dryer?
John, I'm just a drip. That's all there is to it.
You are a drip.
I'm a drip. See, here's the interesting thing. John makes fun of the vest I used to wear, which I'm going to pull that out of mothballs because it served its purpose because of the fact
if there's anybody that would have mothballs, it would be Brad Hildebrand. Go ahead, Brad.
It reminds me of a saying one of my very first not my program directors, he was one of my very first, matter of fact, he was one of my very first general managers. He says, there's 3 impressions you can make in life, good, bad, and none is always the worst.
You're right about that, Brad.
Because you're better to make a bad impression because people know who you are. And the perfect example of that is no one less than Donald Trump, because of the fact that he is known worldwide. And you could probably divide the entire world by saying there's half the people that hate him and half the people who love him. But 100% of the people in the world, at least in the United States, 100% in the world know who Donald Trump is, as opposed to David Wassinger, who is trying to break some of the rules. Should I call that guy back and tell him we'll have Mr. Wassinger on?
I think you should probably try to figure out the man's name first before you call him back and say, hey, pal, you messaged me. By the way, Brad, I thought of you yesterday as we wrapped the show up. The idea of making an impression and doing something wacky, I thought of you because I went to Westplex.com and I looked at the new members.
Yeah.
And I saw Jeremy from Stay Cool Climate Control.
Yes.
Who's wearing a sombrero in this profile picture. And I thought of Brad Hildebrand. And I thought of the whole Brad Hildebrand, you've got to stand out. Now, frankly, I went to Westplex.com. I would suggest other folks go there too. I wanted to see if you had given up on this project yet, if it had gone the way of Brad Cam or snarf it up. But yeah, Jeremy Wolf is wearing a sombrero, and I think it's awesome.
And matter of fact, John, just yesterday, see, you talk about this, just yesterday, all I can tell you is John has not looked at the new members because we have 2 new members.
Yeah, I see him, and that's, I stayed on the page for a minute, Brad.
Suzanne Matyko, Matyiko.
Yeah, I saw that. And it's Berkshire Hathaway. Have you ever heard the phrase, Brad, coming into money?
That's the Berkshire Hathaway people. They do all the high-end real estate, okay?
Yeah, that's for sure.
And I will say to you, John, I'm happy to have Suzanne Matyko, I guess it is, as a member of the Westplex Chamber of Commerce. And right below her is J.C. Johnson, who is
right next to her. That's from Edward Jones, right?
And Edward Jones. And right below her, I'm looking at it, is Mike Boschert from the USSSA, which is a slow-pitch softball league. Will Woods from BizBuzz. Then Jeremy Wolf, Stay Cool Climate Control. Lisa Walker, Pathway to Health. And lots of people joining the Westplex Chamber of Commerce. And John, no, I've not put it on the back burner. It's very much alive, and we are growing every single day, John. Every single day.
I love it, Brad. I saw it. And by the way, you can also join for only $75. You also get increased opportunities, including radio ads, including much more. Go to Westplex.com and check out what Brad's doing.
Right. And the interesting part of this is the other chambers are not happy with me because, you know why, John?
Because they are territorial and petty.
Because they say I haven't paid my chamber dues, so to speak, that I haven't started out as an ambassador and then been on the board and then been like...
And you love that, Brad. I'm going to interrupt. You love that because you are not fueled by compliments and positive praise. You're fueled by people doubting you and having animosity and being petty. So you love the fact that they say you haven't paid your dues. And in fact, if you didn't have that fuel, you probably would have given up on this. If people just praised you and said that you were doing a good job, you would ignore their compliments, like you ignore mine, treat them like something on the bottom of your shoe. But you love the fact that people are being negative and petty towards you because that's what's fueled you for 69 glorious years.
89 years. And John...
89 glorious years. Pardon me.
I don't wear shoes. I wear boots. So it's not on the bottom.
There we go.
Okay. Are we done yet?
I'm going to miss you this weekend, Brad. I will miss Susan Matyko, though, too. I'd like to... Anyway.
And matter of fact, why don't you call Sam Graves and congratulate him for being a great
Republican? I will. I'll say I know a guy with 7 derelict vehicles who's really mad about paying a fee.
Tell him that nice Republican who doesn't want to put any more layers of government in and doesn't want to charge us for more stuff because he doesn't want, the Republicans want less taxes and they want less government overseeing and they want less intervention from the government, but yet he wants to charge us to just...
And they want an extra fee for shows that go 4 minutes over their time.
Say goodbye, John.
See you tomorrow.